All right, guys, here's where the fun starts. So, section 1.7, day one is solving absolute value equations. So, you might remember from sixth grade, seventh grade, that an absolute value bracket looks like these bars down here with the 4 and the -4 in them. So, think about this. What is the absolute value of -4? Well, 4. What is the absolute value of 4? 4. Do you notice anything? And if so, what's happening? Well, you might be noticing that whenever you have to solve any absolute value situation, you will always have two solutions. And the reason why is because the absolute value of -4 is 4, and the absolute value of 4 is 4. So when we're talking absolute value, we're talking distance. All right, we're measuring distance, and distance is always positive. Okay, so really what we're doing here is looking for two different answers. So on your notes, what I want you to put, all right, is that we're looking for how far away it is from zero, distance from zero, and we're going to have two answers. All right, so let's start solving. You might look at this, and our first goal is to isolate the variable, okay? Not the variable, sorry, the absolute value brackets. So what I want you to do is write isolate absolute value bracket. That's your first step in all of this, okay? So when I go through, it's just like an equation. I'm going to subtract 1. When I subtract 1 on both sides, I am left with 3 times the absolute value of x minus 12 is equal to 15. I'm going to divide both sides by 3, and I get the absolute value of x minus 12 is equal to 5. Well, some of you are going to say, hey, Ms. Fedorsky, I know I could add 12 to both sides, all right, and I would get x is equal to 17. Okay, so the absolute value of 17 minus 12 is 5, and 5 is equal to 5. That works. But remember, up above, we talked about how you're going to have two answers. So we have x is equal to x is equal to 17. But the next thing we can do besides this is write or x minus the absolute value of x minus 12. Sorry, I'm going to go back. Not the absolute value. Or x minus 12 is equal to -5. So it could be equal to 5 or -5, because with absolute values, we can have two answers that would make that true. Because up here, -4, the absolute value of -4 is 4, and so is the absolute value of 4. So I could add 12 to both sides, and I'm going to get x is equal to 7. So we have two answers here. Ms. Tversky, how am I going to write that? You could do one of these fancy doodads, and you could say 17 works and 7 works. Okay, some people like to write 17 and 7. Either of those work. All right, so let's take a look at number 2. Number 2, go isolate those absolute values, the brackets. So I'm going to subtract 5 both sides. When I do that, I am left with negative absolute value of 2x is equal to -16. I'm going to divide by -1, and I get 2x is equal to, the absolute value of 2x is equal to 16. So we're going to have two answers. 2x could equal 16, or 2x could equal -16 because of my absolute value brackets. I'm going to divide both sides by 2, and I get x is equal to 8, okay, and x could equal -8. So I'm going to write my solution like this, -8 and 8. All right. Number 3, let's try this one. Subtract 4, both sides. I am left with -2 times the absolute value of x minus 3 is equal to 6. Divide both sides by -2. I get x minus 3, absolute value of x minus 3 is equal to -3. What do you notice? Yeah, you can't have a negative or an absolute value equal a negative. So you can't say the absolute value of x minus 3 is equal to -3, because guess what? You can't measure a negative distance. So you're going to have no solution. All right, and the reason why is because they're still in those brackets. You cannot have an absolute value with that comes out negative. It's always going to be positive. Okay. Down to number 4, I'm going to have you guys try number 4 on your own. Number 5, I'm going to hop in. Goal is to get the brackets by itself, absolute value bars by themselves. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. I'm then left with the absolute value of 2x plus 1 is equal to 12. Okay, so then when I do that, I am going to now subtract the 1 on both sides. I'm left with 2x is equal to 11. So now that we're up here, I'm actually going to erase this. I know a lot of you see these that, hey, now this is isolated. Once it's isolated, we have two choices. So we have 2x plus 1 equals 12, or 2x plus 1 equals negative 12. Then I'm going to have you go ahead and solve that one, number 5. Number 6, I'm going to hop in. We got to isolate the absolute value bracket. So I'm going to add 1 both sides. I'm left with 2 times the absolute value of 3x minus 5 is equal to 12. Divide both sides by 2. I get 3x minus 5 equals 6, or 3x minus 5 equals negative 6. So when I go in and solve these, I'm going to have you finish these. All right, so number 6 you're finishing, number 5 you're finishing, and number 4 you're doing on your own. We'll continue working on these. Let me know if you have any questions. Good job.